My Lords, I think I'm going to congratulate my noble friend Lord Truscott for introducing this debate. If I hadn't to listen to the way he introduced it, which quite frankly was another example of all the scare stories that we've heard about fracking in the past, which I was really disappointed to be hearing reiterated once again, all of which have been roundly disproved. The earthquake stories, which recycled again, and even if there was a slight worry about earthquakes, given that fracking in this country, should monitoring show anything on like 0.5 on the Richter scale, I don't think the earth will be moving, even for the noble Lord Truscott, in those circumstances. We've got the toughest safety regulations on fracking anywhere in the world. What I can't understand is this idea that anybody else can do fracking, apparently. It doesn't matter where else it's done, but not here, apparently. We don't care if it's done in Qatar. We don't care what the conditions are. We don't care about the fact that if you liquefy it and then de-liquefy it, that in itself causes emission. But that's okay, apparently, for my noble friend Lord Truscott. I mean, the plain fact of the matter is that gas is going to be continued to be used in this country for probably 20, 30 or even more years. It's the largest source of electricity, accounting for around 45% of electricity generation and allowing the share of coal-fired generation to fall to record lows. Gas-fired power stations can run continuously or as flexible backup for intermittent wind or solar. And I'm going to partly repeat what the noble Lord MacGregor said, because it was nice to hear a voice that actually told us the real benefits that we can expect from fracking, assuming that we actually get around to doing it. But at the moment, we are so significantly dependent on imports, not only on liquid natural gas, but also on pipe gas. And whether or not you feel that there's there's energy security, whether you worry about that, surely we should be worried about price volatility, because we don't control the import prices. It exposes the UK to international currency fluctuations with imported LNG, for example, and it harms the UK's balance of trade, which apparently the noble Lord Truscott doesn't really matter. In 2015, the UK spent over £14 billion on net primary fuel/energy imports: crude oil products, natural gas, coal, and electricity. It's estimated by 2030 imports of gas alone could cost the UK economy £10 billion a year. We could be producing that ourselves. And the benefits, energy security, employment, well, what do we know about shale gas? We know that potentially there are billions, if not trillions, of cubic feet of gas there. We won't know for sure, but even if you take the most conservative estimates, we're talking about something like, if you took only 10%, there's years and years supply of gas there. Employment, so that doesn't seem to matter any longer. There's potentially jobs there, and after all, these are potentially skilled jobs there. We've set up training colleges to do that, but apparently this doesn't matter either. I listened carefully to the arguments that were put by my noble friend. All I would direct him to is the report by the American Environmental Protection Association, and they looked at 38,000 wells, and I didn't notice they issued an instruction that fracking had to stop immediately. If it was such a serious environmental danger, you'd think, listening to my noble friend, that the whole of the US water supply was poisoned. I mean, it just is not the case. In fact, the UK has the industry experience to make a success of shale gas production. There's over 2,000 wells have been drilled onshore, with around 200 having been hydraulically fractured at lower volumes to enhance recovery. The Witch Farm oil field is located in an area of outstanding natural beauty on a World Heritage coastline, and it's among the highest properties in the country, and it produced 100,000 barrels of oil a day at peak production. I never noticed that the whole of the Dorset was contaminated as a result of that. Today, the industry has 230 operating oil and gas wells onshore on 120 sites, producing about 8 million barrels of oil equivalent per year. We have got very large potential shale gas resources, and it just beggars belief that, and even the decision taken, unfortunately, by my own party to endorse a ban on fracking, when we could use it in a way that would reduce the cost of fuel. And if we cared about fuel poverty, I would have thought that would be that would be something that was uppermost in our minds. Unfortunately, if you look at what I would describe as the green movement, some of the scare stories, when my noble friend talked about leaving it to local people to decide, well, if it was local people deciding it, I would be happy with that. But what we know is that as soon as there's any local activity in relation to fracking, the usual opponents flood the area, spreading the scare stories about earthquakes, spreading the scare stories about poisonous substances. That 99.5% is sand and water. That didn't stop Friends of the Earth claiming that silicon used caused cancer. So on that basis, I presume that none of our children will be playing on beaches any longer, as mostly, to my knowledge, I don't claim to be an expert chemist, that's what sand consists of. I mean, these are irresponsible scare stories. Why people persist in doing it is beyond me. So I don't want to exaggerate the impact of shale, but there's something like an estimate, and this is the British Geological Society's figures. In the Bowland Shale, there's something like 1,300 trillion cubic feet of shale gas. If only 10% could be extracted, it would be equivalent to 40 to 50 years of UK gas consumption. Surely that is worth doing. I just cannot understand the opposition. If we were in a situation where there weren't sufficient safety regulations, then I'd be the first to endorse the concern. But that's not the case. This government has ensured the tighter set of safety regulations. So my view about this is that there's real economic benefit, there's real energy security benefit, and there are employment benefits that this country could benefit on if only we could get on with the production of shale gas.